Ever had a woman you like completely ignore you? You text her, wait for her to reply, but all you get is silence. You see her online, she's posting, but she's not replying to you. It feels terrible, doesn't it? You start questioning yourself. Did I do something wrong? Was I too eager? You even start replaying every conversation in your head. But I'm here to tell you this. Stop. Her ignoring you is not about you. It's about her. And guess what? We're going to use this situation to your advantage. In this video, we're going to explore the Stoic approach to taking back your power. By the end, you'll know exactly how to flip the script when she ignores you and come out stronger than ever. Here's the hard truth. Women test you. They test you by ignoring you, by seeing how you'll react when they go silent. This is no accident. If you react emotionally, they win. If you stay cool, confident, and unfazed, you win. Today, I'm going to show you how to take control when a woman ignores you, not by playing games, but by becoming the most unshakable, self-controlled version of yourself. Think of this as the ultimate guide to handling rejection like a Stoic king. Let's dive in. Why she's ignoring you and why it doesn't matter. Let's get one thing very clear. When a woman decides to ignore you, it often feels like a direct attack on your confidence, on who you are. You start questioning every move, replaying every message, thinking, what did I do wrong? But here's the kicker. It's usually not about you at all. In the world of modern dating, there are layers of mind games, hidden agendas, and subtle power dynamics at play. People, especially in dating, are constantly looking for validation, for control over the other person's emotions. Maybe she's trying to see how much you care by ignoring you. Maybe she's testing how far she can push you to see how you'll react. Maybe she's genuinely busy, caught up with work, friends, or her own life. Or perhaps she's just not as into you as you thought she was. But here's the game-changing truth. None of these reasons actually matter. What matters, what really matters, is how you choose to respond to her silence. If you're sitting around waiting, checking your phone every 5 minutes, wondering why she hasn't replied, you're handing her all the power. You're giving her control over your emotions, over your day, over your sense of self-worth. And that's exactly what you don't want to do. This is where Stoicism becomes your secret weapon, because Stoic philosophy teaches us one critical lesson. We can't control what others do, but we can always, without exception, control how we react to it. When she ignores you, don't fall into the trap of overthinking. Don't spiral into self-doubt. Instead, recognize that her actions are beyond your control and focus on the one thing you have full power over, your response. Control what you can. So, what do you do when a woman ignores you? First, understand this. In Stoicism, there's a clear distinction between things you can control and things you can't. You can't control if she responds, but you can control how you respond. When she ignores you, don't chase. Instead, do nothing. That's right, nothing. This isn't about ignoring her out of spite. This is about understanding that you are unshaken by her lack of response. By doing nothing, you take the power back. You demonstrate that her behavior doesn't affect your mood, your actions, or your confidence. When she goes silent, it feels like you've lost control, but this is where your Stoic power begins. You can control your emotional response, which is the only thing that matters. A lot of guys will feel desperate in this situation and double text, or worse, send an angry message asking why she's not replying. This is the opposite of what Stoicism teaches us. Stoicism is about maintaining your composure and strength no matter what happens. It's about holding on to your dignity, showing her that you don't need her validation. When you show her you're unaffected, she starts to wonder why. she'll start to see you as different from the rest. Let's say you've been texting her. Suddenly, she ghosts you. You're tempted to send another text, to follow up, to ask what's going on. Don't. Let her see that you are unaffected. If she wants to ignore you, fine. You have your own life to live. When you don't respond to her silence with more neediness, you show her that you're different. You show her that you're a man in control of his emotions. Think about a situation where you've been ghosted after an amazing conversation or date, and suddenly, nothing. Most guys would panic, thinking, "What did I do wrong?" Or try to win her back by sending another message, trying to regain her attention. But what if instead you did nothing? What if instead of chasing after her, you focused on yourself, went to the gym, worked on your goals, and ignored her silence? Not only would this drive her crazy with curiosity, but it also builds your self-confidence. By doing nothing, you actually regain all the power. And if she doesn't reach back out, so what? You've already moved on and improved yourself in the process. Number 1, shift the focus back to you. Here's your first actionable step, and it's one of the most important things you can do. Instead of obsessing over her silence, redirect every ounce of that attention and energy back toward you. Her ignoring you is not a reason to spiral, it's a chance. A golden opportunity to make improvements in your own life, to level up in ways that matter. This is the time to invest in yourself, to strengthen your mind, body, and goals. So what does this actually look like? Hit the gym, get serious about your fitness. Work on those personal or professional goals you've been putting off, whether it's mastering a new skill or launching a project you're passionate about. Dive into your hobbies, the things that light you up inside. Surround yourself with people who lift you up and value you for who you are. The more you invest in your growth, the more you'll start to see that her ignoring you is insignificant in the grand scheme of things. In fact, the more you make yourself your number 1 priority, the more attractive you naturally become, not just to her, but to anyone. Remember, women don't gravitate toward men who chase after them with desperation. They're drawn to men who are locked in on their own mission, their own purpose, their own path. Think about a time in your life when you were completely engrossed in pursuing your goals. Maybe you were hitting the gym regularly, seeing real progress in your fitness journey, or maybe you were knee-deep in building a business, putting in the long hours, making sacrifices, and seeing your dreams start to come to life. Or perhaps you were learning a new skill, improving every day. During these moments, texting back and forth with someone, waiting for replies, wasn't even on your mind because you were so focused on becoming the best version of yourself. That's the energy, that's the mindset you need to bring to every relationship and interaction. When you prioritize yourself, your goals, and your happiness, people can sense it. And guess what? They'll naturally be drawn to you, including her. She'll wonder what's changed, why you're not reacting, why you're suddenly even more attractive, and all of this happens because you made you the focus. Number 2, use reverse psychology. Reverse psychology. You may have heard about this in the dating world, and while it's often misused, it can be extremely powerful when applied correctly. When she ignores you, don't chase, ignore her back. But here's the twist. Ignore her in a way that shows you're unaffected, not bitter. It's not about playing games, it's about demonstrating strength. The moment you stop seeking her validation, the moment you show that her silence has no power over you, she starts to wonder why. This is key. When you stop giving her the attention she expects, you shift the entire dynamic. It puts you back in the driver's seat, not by being manipulative, but by showing that you're not controlled by your emotions or her actions. Remember, it's not about who texts first. It's about who keeps control. Imagine this. You've texted her a few times and she hasn't responded. You're tempted to send another text, or even worse, ask her why she's ignoring you. Don't. Instead of double texting or getting emotional, do nothing. Let it go. Live your life without giving her any more energy. Post pictures of you out with friends, hitting the gym, or working on your goals, but do not reach out to her. Soon, she'll start to wonder, why isn't he chasing me? Did I lose him? Is he talking to someone else? Has he moved on? And when she reaches out to you, and she will eventually, respond calmly and with little emotional investment. Don't bring up her silence. Don't ask why she ignored you. Just respond as if nothing happened. You've now shifted the power dynamic completely in your favor without even lifting a finger. You haven't reacted to her bait, and that makes you appear confident, strong, and most importantly, emotionally in control. That's the power of reverse psychology. Number 3, stay calm and unbothered. One of the biggest mistakes men make when a woman ignores them is losing their cool. They start feeling anxious, frustrated, or even angry. And let me tell you, this is exactly what you want to avoid. When you lose your composure, you hand over all the power to her. She can sense your emotional instability, and it gives her control. The Stoic response to this situation is crystal clear. Stay calm, stay composed, and don't let anything shake you. No matter what she's doing, your mindset needs to be that of a person who is grounded, centered, and emotionally untouchable. This isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about genuinely not letting her actions dictate your emotional state. When you can master this level of emotional control, you'll notice that not only do you feel better, but you'll also become far more attractive. People, especially women, are naturally drawn to those who exude calm confidence, who aren't easily rattled by the minor disruptions that life throws at them. In the long run, calmness shows power, and power is irresistible. Next time she ignores you, resist the urge to react emotionally or impulsively. Instead, take a deep breath, step back, and remind yourself of this. Her actions do not define your value or worth as a person. You are the one who decides how you feel, not her. Instead of stressing or replaying every conversation in your head, choose an activity that strengthens your sense of calm. Go for a long run to release any pent-up frustration. Blast some music that makes you feel unstoppable. Dive into a project that's been demanding your attention and lose yourself in productive work. What's happening here is that you're taking control of the situation by shifting focus away from her and back onto yourself. And in doing so, you maintain your emotional power. You show her that you're not at the mercy of her responses, and more importantly, you reinforce to yourself that you're in control of your own emotional experience. That kind of control is magnetic, and when she sees that you haven't been affected by her ignoring you, she'll start to question why she doesn't have the effect she expected on you. That's when the power shifts. Number 4, detach from the outcome. Here's the ultimate Stoic move. Detach from the outcome. Whether she responds or not, whether she likes you or not, your peace remains intact. This is true power. When you stop caring about the outcome, you free yourself from the emotional roller coaster of dating. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care about her. It means you care more about your own well-being than whether or not she gives you attention. This mindset shift is crucial if you want to take back control in any relationship. When you detach, you stop placing your happiness and self-worth in someone else's hands. You reclaim ownership of your emotions and your life. The truth is, when you detach, you no longer worry about what she's thinking, what she's doing, or why she's not responding. You become calm, collected, and in control of yourself. Women, or anyone for that matter, are drawn to people who aren't desperately seeking validation, Detaching from the outcome shows that you respect yourself enough to walk away from any situation that doesn't serve you. You stop feeling needy or anxious, and in doing so, you become someone she respects and is more likely to chase. Think about a situation where you were overly attached to the outcome. Whether it was a job interview, a date, or a text, the more you worried about how things would turn out, the more anxious you became. Your mind would race, replaying scenarios and imagining the worst possible outcomes. Now imagine letting go of all that noise. Picture yourself being okay with any outcome, knowing that no matter what happens, you'll be fine. This is the essence of Stoic detachment. It's about embracing the mindset that whatever happens is meant to happen, and your peace is not dependent on the actions or opinions of others. When you can truly detach from whether she responds or not, you become free. You no longer feel the need to chase, to seek, or to validate yourself through her actions. And when you're free, you become incredibly attractive. Freedom from outcome shows confidence, and confidence is what draws people in. It's about showing the world and yourself that your happiness doesn't rely on external validation, but on internal stability and control. Here's the bottom line. When a woman ignores you, most guys panic. They chase, they overthink, they lose control. But not you, not after today. You now have the tools, the mindset, and the knowledge to flip the script. When she ignores you, that's your opportunity to show that you're different, that you're unshaken. You don't react, you take control. You're calm, confident, and in command of your emotions. And guess what? That makes you not only more attractive, but more powerful in every aspect of your life. Think about it. How many men do you know who let their emotions control them? How many of them spiral the moment they're ignored? You're not going to be that guy. You're going to be the man who stays composed, who focuses on himself, and who lets go of the need for validation. This isn't just about handling a woman ignoring you, it's about mastering your life. When you master your emotions, you're no longer a slave to others' opinions, actions, or decisions. You're free. And that freedom, it's magnetic. Women notice it. People respect it. Most importantly, you feel it. From this moment on, don't just play the dating game, master it. Be the man in control, always. If this message resonated with you, then it's time to take the next step. Don't just walk away from this video and forget everything you've learned. Take action. Right now, hit that subscribe button and join a community of men who are committed to mastering their emotions, their relationships, and their lives. Don't wait for the next time she ignores you to start building yourself up. Start now. Start today. This isn't just about dating advice. It's about becoming the man you're meant to be, the man who doesn't react, but takes control. What if I told you that disappearing is one of the most powerful moves you can make in a woman's mind? That the very moment you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop trying to convince her of your worth, and instead, you simply let go. You don't become forgotten. You become unforgettable. You see, silence, real, intentional silence, echoes. It lingers. It carves space in someone's thoughts where noise used to live, and it may sound strange at first, but the human mind is magnetically drawn to what's missing, to the unanswered, the unexplained, the mystery. When you disappear, not out of spite, but out of peace, you're not creating distance, you're creating depth, you're not chasing attention, you're commanding presence, and in that quiet, in that calm detachment, she begins to feel something she never felt before, your absence carrying more weight than your words ever did. Most men exhaust themselves trying to prove they're enough. They send texts, they over-explain, they compromise their own energy just to be seen. But a man becomes truly powerful the moment he stops seeking validation and remembers that he already is enough. Not because she said so, but because he finally said so to himself. This isn't about games. It's not about manipulation. It's about awareness. It's about choosing yourself, not with arrogance, but with clarity, with purpose. When a man walks away with peace in his chest and stillness in his eyes, he doesn't lose her. He gives her a chance to truly see him, without distraction, without noise. And day by day, something begins to shift inside her. The silence becomes a mirror. The absence becomes a question. And the man who once felt like he was fading suddenly becomes the center of her mental universe. In this video, we're going to break down what happens in her mind, day by day, when you disappear with dignity, when you stop chasing and start embodying. If you're someone who values inner strength over drama, purpose over ego, and wisdom over noise, then you're exactly where you're meant to be: clarity over chaos and power that doesn't need to shout to be felt. Now, let's begin. Day 1, she doesn't flinch, but that's not the end of the story. On the first day, your absence doesn't shake her, not in any visible way. She's calm, composed, almost indifferent. She notices the shift, but only like someone notices a song fading in the background. It's there, but it doesn't interrupt the rhythm of her day. You see, women are accustomed to being wanted. They've been conditioned to expect that attention will eventually return, sometimes through persistence, sometimes through desperation. So when you go silent, she tells herself it's just another cycle. Maybe you're busy. Maybe you're trying to stir up curiosity. Maybe you're one of the many who play hard to get, but eventually return to the same place, at her feet. She doesn't panic. She doesn't wonder where you've gone. Not yet. Because she still believes she knows the ending. She's seen it before. But what she doesn't realize is that this silence is not a performance. You're not withholding affection to create tension. You're not hoping to be missed. You've simply stopped offering your energy where it wasn't fully received. This is not about power. It's about peace. A peace that comes when a man no longer seeks validation, but lives by his own emotional code. And that's what makes this different. This isn't the beginning of a game. It's the end of one. She doesn't flinch because she doesn't feel the shift yet. But the real shift? It's happening inside of you. And soon, the silence she dismissed will become the very echo she can't ignore. Day 2 to 3. A subtle shift begins. By the second or third day, something begins to feel different. Not loud, not alarming, just off. There's a quiet void where your presence used to be. You had been consistent, steady, reliable, not overly available, but there, grounded. And now you're not. There's no message, no update, no reaction, just space and silence. She doesn't panic, not outwardly. She tells herself it's nothing, that you're probably busy or simply taking a step back. She even convinces herself that it's refreshing, having space, having the upper hand. But underneath that composed surface, her mind is already beginning to reach. She finds herself scrolling through your conversation, maybe just to feel like there's still something tethering you to her. She glances at your profile, not to engage, but just to confirm you're still around. But you're not. Not in the way she expects, not in the way she's used to. That's when the quiet begins to grow roots. A small, almost imperceptible seed of uncertainty takes hold. Not longing, no, that comes later. This is more subtle. It's the sense that something has shifted and she can't quite name it. She doesn't know what she did, or if you're even thinking about her. And that ambiguity unsettles her in a way direct rejection never could. You're no longer following the script, and the unknown is always more powerful than the expected. In those early days, when you do nothing, you begin to say everything, and though she may not admit it yet, a question has already begun to echo in the back of her mind. What if he's really gone? Day 4 to 5, the absence feels heavier. By the 4th or 5th day, your absence is no longer something she brushes off. It's something she starts to feel. Not in dramatic moments, but in the quiet, in the ordinary rhythms of her life. She finds herself unlocking her phone more often, not with urgency, but with a quiet hope that your name might appear. She tells herself it's nothing, just habit, just curiosity. But the truth is, your silence is starting to take up space. There are songs she skips now, not because she doesn't like them, but because they pull too much. They remind her of the comfort she felt when your presence was steady, when she didn't have to wonder where you stood. The nights feel a bit longer now. The absence settles in during the in-between moments, those pauses in conversation with friends, those minutes before sleep, when no one texts her goodnight, and she's left with only her thoughts. She assumed you'd break, that by now, like most men, you'd send something, anything, to remind her that she still holds the power. But you haven't. You're still silent, still. And that unnerves her more than anger ever could. Your silence isn't a tactic. It's not noise disguised as strategy. It's deliberate, composed, alive with meaning. In it, she begins to hear something louder than words, the sound of a man who no longer needs to chase, a man anchored in himself. And though she won't admit it, not even to herself, the weight of that realization has already begun to shift something inside her. Because now, she's no longer sure how this story ends. Day 6 to 7. The questions begin to echo. By the 6th or 7th day, something inside her begins to shift in ways she didn't anticipate. This isn't about missing you, not in the romantic, sentimental way she might admit over a glass of wine weeks later. This is different. It's deeper. It's about control. Control she believed she had. Control that once gave her confidence. And now, it's slipping. You were never meant to stay silent this long, not according to the pattern she knew. You were supposed to flinch, to fold, to send a message. Something small maybe, but something. Instead, you've remained quiet, centered, unmoved. And that steadiness is beginning to unravel assumptions she didn't even realize she held. Questions start to surface in her mind, uninvited and unresolved. Did I misread him? Was he never that into me? Or worse, is he already with someone else? These aren't questions she voices aloud. They stay locked in her silence, tangled in the private spaces of her thoughts. But they echo. Again and again, and each time they return, they get louder. It's not just your absence that haunts her, it's the unfamiliar calm that surrounds it. You're not angry, you're not bitter, you're not playing games. You've simply removed yourself, without fanfare, without explanation. That's what unsettles her most. You're not trying to get a reaction, you're simply living your life, full, focused, and without the need to prove anything. And that reality pierces through her pride. Because for the first time, she's not just wondering where you've gone, she's questioning her own sense of importance in your world. Not because you diminished her, but because you've shown her something rare, a man who doesn't need her attention to feel whole. That kind of peace can't be faked, and it can't be ignored. Day 8 to 10, the quiet starts to haunt her. By now, the silence has transformed from a distant absence into something that lingers in the room with her. It follows her in moments she used to feel most secure, in the middle of conversations, during her scrolls through social media, in the hours just before she sleeps. It's no longer just something she notices, it's something she feels. She starts looking for signs that she still exists in your world. Did you view her story? Did you like an old photo? Were you tagged somewhere, close enough for her to believe she might still cross your mind? But the answer, time and again, is no. Nothing. You've disappeared, not with a storm but with stillness, and that stillness is louder than any confrontation could have been. She tries to stay composed, even amused by your disappearance. She tells herself you're playing a game, waiting for her to react. But the longer it goes, the harder it becomes to ignore the growing truth. This isn't a game. You're not baiting her. You're not holding your breath, hoping she notices. You've simply chosen silence, not as a weapon, but as a boundary, a declaration. And that's what unsettles her most. For the first time, she feels something she didn't expect. Regret. Not because you said something to trigger it, not because you begged for a second chance, but because you didn't. Because you walked away with a kind of quiet dignity she's not used to witnessing. The realization sinks in slowly. This is what it feels like when a man stops chasing, not to punish, but because he finally remembered his worth. And in that remembering, he became unreachable, not by distance, but by peace. And that kind of peace doesn't just haunt her. It lingers in every silence she used to find comforting. Days 11 to 14. Ego cracks. Doubt creeps in. Around this time, something changes in her reflection. It's subtle at first, just a longer pause in front of the mirror, a flicker of something behind her eyes. But as the days stretch on, her thoughts begin circling back, not in frustration or anger, but in quiet questioning. She starts replaying your conversations in her mind. Words she brushed off now echo differently. Moments where she laughed or distanced herself now feel colder in hindsight. She wonders if she missed something, or worse, if she dismissed something that actually mattered. The irony is, she still believes she has the power. She thinks she's choosing not to reach out, but deep inside, that control is beginning to erode. Because for the first time, she's not sure she was right. She's not sure how much of your silence is strategy, and how much of it is sincerity. And here's the part that strikes the deepest chord. You're not doing any of this to provoke her. You're not orchestrating some grand emotional reversal. You're not sitting by the phone, hoping she notices. You're not trying to be missed. You're simply living, focused, grounded, at peace. You've placed your energy into things that nourish you, your work, your body, your purpose. You've stepped off the emotional battlefield and walked towards something far more powerful, self-respect. And whether she wants to admit it or not, she senses the shift. Because nothing unnerves the ego like watching someone thrive without needing to prove anything. She's no longer asking if you're coming back. She's starting to wonder if you ever truly needed her to begin with. And in that uncertainty, the story she believed she was writing begins to lose its shape. Days 15 to 17, her pride battles her curiosity. By now, the silence has carved out a space too large to ignore. It lingers in the spaces where your voice once fit so naturally, in the little updates, the passing comments, the subtle affirmations of presence. And though she's tried to convince herself that it doesn't matter, something in her is shifting. Her pride tells her to stay composed, to maintain the illusion of indifference. But curiosity has begun to pull at her, softly at first, then with a quiet desperation. She wants to reach out, not with confession, but with something small, something she can pretend is casual. A vague post, a lyric that could mean anything, a memory shared without context. Maybe a story where her smile looks almost real, except for the way her eyes betray the ache. She hopes it'll be enough to stir a reaction, to remind you that she still exists somewhere in your thoughts. But you remain still. You offer nothing. No likes, no messages, no signs of acknowledgement, and that absence, it cuts deeper than any harsh word could, because it isn't angry, it isn't emotional, it's deliberate, clean, surgical. It forces her to confront something she's long avoided. She's not in control anymore. And the hardest truth to swallow is that she never really was. She just mistook your kindness for need, your presence for pursuit. But now, in your stillness, she sees you clearly, perhaps for the first time. And that realization doesn't just sting, it humbles her. Days 18 to 20, the fear becomes real. At this stage, the silence no longer feels like space, it feels like loss. It creeps into the corners of her day and settles in the quietest hours of the night. She's no longer just wondering where you went. She's beginning to fear that you're not coming back. And for the first time, that fear doesn't feel hypothetical. It feels real, heavy, immediate. She starts bringing you up in conversations, subtly at first, just enough to feel like it's in passing, but her voice gives her away. There's a pause, a tension in her words that didn't exist before, and when she's alone, the denial slips. She scrolls through your profile in the middle of the night, searching for anything, any trace that you still feel what she no longer hears. She lingers too long on a photo of you smiling. It used to make her feel chosen. Now it makes her wonder if she ever truly saw you at all, or just the version she wanted to believe in. There's a quiet unraveling happening beneath the surface. The narratives she once told herself, that you were lucky to have her, that you'd come running back, that she held the power, begin to collapse. And in their place, a sobering truth emerges. You were never trying to win. You weren't chasing. You were offering something few men truly do: genuine presence, steady energy, and respect. And when it wasn't met with the same care, you didn't react. You simply withdrew. No drama, no explanations, just clarity. And now she sees it. Not as a punishment, but as a boundary. Not as a tactic, but as a standard. She used to believe she was the prize. But now she realizes what you were offering may have been the real rarity all along. Days 21 to 25. The strategizing begins. By now, the silence has unraveled the stories she once told herself. The illusion of control is gone, and in its place is a growing urgency. Not desperation, not yet, but something more calculated. She begins to shift. The edges of her once effortless confidence soften. Her tone changes. Her presence becomes more careful, more curated. She doesn't just want to be seen again. She wants you to see her, the way you once did, before the silence spoke louder than words. She might send a message that pretends to be accidental, just ambiguous enough to be excused if ignored. She might show up where she knows you spend your time, laughing a little louder, standing a little closer to the version of herself she thinks will draw your gaze. She might even reach out with something meaningless, a question she could Google, a memory she knows you remember, just to open a door. But here's the shift. You no longer walk through doors left half open. You don't mistake proximity for connection. You don't equate familiarity with meaning. And that's why you don't leap at the chance to respond. Not with bitterness, not with anger, but with stillness, with composure, with a clarity that no longer bends to old habits. You're not playing hard to get. You've simply outgrown the game. Your calm presence, your unwavering center, it's unsettling to her, not because it's cruel, but because it's rare. She expected either resistance or surrender. What she didn't expect was indifference rooted in peace, and that, more than anything, shakes her, because she can feel it now, in a way she couldn't before. You're not waiting, you're not reacting. You've moved on, within yourself, and nothing is more disarming than a man who no longer needs to be understood to remain whole. Day 26 to 30. She's no longer curious, she's invested. At this point, the silence has done more than just create space. It has created contrast. The absence of your attention, your presence, your energy. It's no longer just a mystery she's trying to solve. It's become something she feels deeply, something that lingers in her thoughts and touches the parts of her she didn't expect to be stirred. She's no longer curious about where you've gone. She's fully invested in understanding why it feels so different without you. Gone is the vague post, the accidental message, the passive tests. In their place comes something real, intentional. She reaches out, this time without the mask, without the performance. There's vulnerability in her voice, perhaps a softness in her words that wasn't there before, not because she's trying to win you back with charm, but because for the first time she's speaking without assumption. She's not expecting you to be there waiting. She's hoping. And now, the dynamic quietly shifts. This is no longer about whether you'll respond. It's about whether she still qualifies for a seat at your table, whether she has earned the right to be let back into a space you no longer offer so easily. Because your absence wasn't just silence, it was a mirror. It reflected to her what she once took for granted, what she assumed would always be there. And now that it's gone, she understands it wasn't casual. It was sacred. You, on your end, are different too. Not hardened, not bitter, just clear. Clear on what your energy costs. Clear on what your peace is worth. Clear that your value doesn't bend to her validation. It never did. But now you see it. Her message, however sincere, does not undo the process. It does not erase the journey you took within yourself in these days of stillness. And so you pause, not to punish, but to protect. Because what was once given freely now must be met with the same reverence you've cultivated in your own life. She no longer wants a reaction. She's asking for reconnection, but the difference now is you're the one who gets to decide. And that decision is no longer about desire, it's about alignment. Because you've learned that your worth was never something she could grant or take away. It was always yours. And now, you carry it like a man who finally remembers what it means to be whole. Summary. Final thought. Disappearing is so often misunderstood. It's not a strategy, and it's certainly not a game. It's not about punishment or power. When done from a place of calm clarity, it becomes something far more profound. It becomes a mirror. And in that mirror, she doesn't just see the space where you once stood. She sees herself, her patterns, her pride, the expectations she carried without ever questioning if they were earned, the attention she thought was guaranteed, the control she assumed she had. But the true gift of silence is not in what it shows her. It's in what it reveals to you. When you step back from the noise, from the need to prove, from the old habits of overextending yourself just to be seen or chosen, you meet yourself again. You remember who you were before you placed your worth in someone else's hands. You see your strength, not in your ability to chase or fix, but in your ability to remain still, present, and self-led. And once you reach that place, once a man stands in the fullness of who he is without apology, he no longer seeks permission to be valued. He no longer performs for acceptance. He no longer begs to be remembered. Because the man who remembers who he is understands that if someone forgets him, they were never truly seeing him to begin with. Have you ever stepped back from a woman, truly stepped back without anger or games, only to watch her suddenly change? Or maybe you've made the mistake of reaching out too soon, hoping to reconnect, only to feel that sinking regret afterward. If you've been there, you're not alone. Most men have lived through these moments, some in silence, some with lessons carved deep into memory. I want to hear your story. What happened when you stopped showing up the way she expected? What did you feel when you held the line? or when you broke it. Drop a comment below, not for validation, but for connection, for truth. This isn't just a video, it's a space for real conversations, and I promise I read everyone. I'll reply to as many as I can, because no matter where you are in your journey, your experience matters, and someone else out there needs to hear it. The most dangerous person in your life is rarely the one who shouts the loudest or throws the first punch. No, real danger often comes wrapped in warmth, patience, and a smile that never quite reaches the eyes. They won't raise their voice. They won't leave obvious scars. Instead, they'll quietly rearrange your reality, one small, calculated move at a time, until you no longer trust your own instincts. And that's exactly how they win. The Stoics warned us that evil rarely walks in announcing itself. It sits beside you, it earns your trust, and then it slowly convinces you that the warning bells in your head are just overthinking. By the time you realize what's happening, you're already standing on ground they've been pulling out from under you piece by piece. In this video, we're going to expose 10 quiet, almost invisible signs that you're far too close to someone who will dismantle you if you let them. If you're ready to see what most people miss, hit like for raw truth without the sugarcoating, and drop a 1 in the comments if you want your eyes sharper than your enemy's lies. 1. They dilute your reality. Some of the most harmful people you'll ever meet will never openly insult your intelligence or call you unstable. That would be too obvious. Instead, they work quietly, subtly, chipping away at your confidence in your own perception. They'll challenge your recollection of events in small, calculated ways. You remember them promising something, but they insist you imagined it. You recall a conversation clearly, yet they suggest you've misunderstood. At first, these moments seem harmless, maybe even reasonable. After all, everyone remembers things differently sometimes. But over time, the pattern emerges. It's not occasional disagreement, it's a deliberate erosion of your reality. I once knew a man whose business partner operated this way. In the beginning, it was minor, altering details in their agreements, changing timelines, claiming certain discussions never happened. The man dismissed it as poor communication. But months later, he realized he was second-guessing his own memory so often that he had stopped making decisions without confirming them with his partner. That's the trap. Once you've been conditioned to question yourself, you become dependent on their version of events. And in that dependency, they gain power. Psychologists call this gaslighting, and it's one of the most effective forms of manipulation because it doesn't just control your actions, it rewires your sense of truth. You begin to feel unsteady, unsure, as if reality itself is a shifting floor beneath your feet. Marcus Aurelius warned, "If it's not true, don't say it. If it's not right, don't do it." The manipulator's philosophy is the opposite. They thrive in the grey areas where facts can be blurred just enough to keep you questioning yourself, but not enough for you to confront them with certainty. This constant distortion is exhausting, and that exhaustion works in their favor. When you're too tired to challenge them, you're easier to control. The Stoic answer is to anchor yourself in objective reality and record it when necessary. Keep written notes of agreements, follow up conversations with clear summaries, and trust your own senses unless proven otherwise. The goal isn't to argue them into honesty. You'll never win that fight, but to keep your perception sharp enough that their fog can't settle over you. And while this tactic is one of the most insidious, it rarely comes alone. Once someone starts bending your reality, the next step is often to isolate your perspective entirely, which is where we turn next. 2. They never celebrate you fully. Psychologists have a term for what some people do when they acknowledge your achievement but immediately undercut it. It's called backhanded praise. On the surface, it looks like support. They might compliment your work, your success, or your progress, but there's always an asterisk attached, a subtle qualifier that turns pride into doubt. It might sound like advice, perspective, or even concern, but the impact is the same. Your accomplishment feels smaller, as if it only matters when they approve of it. This isn't constructive feedback. It's a quiet method of control. Over time, these small, calculated comments erode your self-assurance. You start relying on them to validate how you should feel about your own progress. Even when you're proud of yourself, a part of you waits for their opinion before deciding if that pride is justified. That's the moment you've handed them the keys to your confidence. The Stoics would call this a dangerous dependency. Epictetus reminded us, if you seek truth, you will not seek to gain a reputation in the eyes of others. In other words, your worth and progress are not up for negotiation. Marcus Aurelius echoed this when he said, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." When someone's approval becomes the gate through which all your pride must pass, you've surrendered control over one of the most essential parts of your identity, your self-respect. The solution isn't to shut yourself off from all feedback. It's to separate genuine, growth-oriented advice from manipulative, diminishing commentary. Genuine feedback builds without belittling. It points out room for improvement while still allowing you to own your current success. The harmful version subtly keeps you in check, so you never feel fully secure without them. A Stoic doesn't mistake the sound of applause for the presence of respect. They measure their worth internally, rooted in effort, principle, and discipline, not in the shifting moods of another person. If the recognition you receive comes with a leash attached, it isn't recognition, it's conditioning. And once you learn to spot that, you'll also start noticing the next form of quiet harm, the calculated creation of guilt to keep you in place. 3. They're always the victim. One of the most telling traits of a truly harmful person is their ability to cast themselves as the perpetual victim. No matter the situation, no matter how clearly their actions caused harm, they will find a way to redirect blame outward. If they lie, it's because someone forced them into it. If they hurt someone, it's because circumstances left them no choice. Life is always happening to them, never because of them. This is more than simple denial. It's a calculated tactic that manipulates your natural compassion into a tool for their protection. When you feel sorry for them, you're less likely to hold them accountable. When you view them as wounded, you become willing to excuse behaviors you would never tolerate from someone else. And over time, that compassion becomes a leash. You stay, you forgive, you overlook, not because it's right, but because you've been made to believe that abandoning them would be an act of cruelty. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The manipulative person knows this instinctively and exploits it. They feed you a constant stream of imagined grievances, exaggerated hardships, and one-sided stories designed to keep you sympathetic. The more you buy into their narrative, the more their suffering becomes your responsibility to fix. The Stoic sees this for what it is, a transfer of burden. Your role shifts from an equal partner, friend, or family member into a caretaker for their perpetual crises. Crises that often exist more in drama than in reality. Stoic philosophy teaches that while empathy is noble, it must be balanced with reason. True compassion does not mean enabling harmful behavior or allowing someone's self-pity to dictate your actions. The moment you notice that every interaction leaves you feeling responsible for their life, you must step back and evaluate. Are you helping, or are you being held in place by the weight of a story that never ends? A Stoic chooses to stand in truth, even if it means walking away from someone's endless performance of pain. And just as they use pity to tether you emotionally, The next tactic often appears as something else entirely, a strategic removal of your independence, disguised as concern. That's where we turn next. 4. They respect you, selectively. One of the clearest signs you're dealing with a harmful person is when their respect for you is conditional, switched on or off depending on who's watching. In public, they may treat you with charm, politeness, and a surface-level attentiveness that makes others think your relationship is solid. But behind closed doors, that respect evaporates. They interrupt you mid-sentence, dismiss your opinions without thought, or treat your needs as inconveniences. This split behavior isn't random. It's a carefully maintained camouflage. I once knew a couple where the husband was the picture of a devoted partner in social settings, opening doors, listening intently, praising her to friends. Yet in private, he regularly ignored her concerns and undermined her decisions. She told me it left her feeling invisible in her own home, but trapped, because everyone else believed they had the perfect relationship. That's exactly how this tactic works. The public image becomes a shield, making it harder for you to be believed if you speak up. From a psychological perspective, this duality creates a form of cognitive dissonance. You cling to the public version of them, hoping it's the real one, while enduring the private disrespect in silence. Over time, this wears down your self-worth because you start measuring your value by how they treat you in front of others, rather than how they treat you when no one is looking. The Stoics warned against being fooled by appearances. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone can show me that what I think or do is wrong, I will gladly change. But until then, I will hold to what is true." The truth here is simple. Respect that disappears when the audience leaves was never respect. It was a performance. And no matter how convincing the act, the private reality is the one that reveals their character. Recognizing this pattern is liberating because it frees you from chasing the good version of them as if it's something you can earn. You stop mistaking selective respect for genuine care and start measuring relationships by consistency, not by moments. And often, when this selective respect starts to falter, the harmful person will employ another tactic to keep you off balance, using your own insecurities as quiet weapons against you. That's the sign we'll uncover next. 5. They starve you of certainty. One of the most subtle yet exhausting tactics harmful people use is keeping you in a constant state of uncertainty. They're vague about their plans, unclear about their commitments, and evasive when you seek direct answers. You're left piecing together fragments, trying to interpret tone, reading between the lines, and filling in the gaps with your own assumptions. This isn't poor communication or forgetfulness, it's deliberate. Confusion becomes their leash, keeping you mentally tethered as you wait for them to finally clarify what they want. From a psychological perspective, this is a form of intermittent reinforcement, the same tactic used in gambling. By giving you occasional moments of clarity or affection, they condition you to tolerate long stretches of uncertainty in the hope of another small reward. Over time, this keeps you chasing their approval or attention, often without realizing how much control they've gained over your thoughts and emotions. The Stoics understood that clarity is a form of freedom. Epictetus would remind us that you cannot live well if your peace depends on someone else's unpredictable moods or shifting intentions. If someone truly values you, they don't keep you guessing. They give you the truth plainly, even when it's uncomfortable. When you're starved of certainty, your mind shifts from living your own life to managing theirs. You rearrange your schedule, your priorities, and sometimes your principles just to align with whatever version of reality they're offering that day. This is why the harm runs so deep. Not only are they controlling your present, but they're also limiting your future by keeping you in a reactive state rather than a deliberate one. The Stoic solution is simple, though not always easy. Refuse to live in prolonged ambiguity. When answers are consistently withheld, see it as the answer in itself. People who truly care about you don't let you live in confusion. They don't keep the ground beneath you unstable. They offer clarity because they want you to stand firmly, not because they're afraid of what will happen if you do. And once uncertainty loses its grip on you, you'll start to notice another tactic harmful people often use, disguising criticism as concern so it slips past your defenses. That's the next sign to watch for. 6. They undermine your other connections. Psychologists have long noted that one of the most effective ways to control another person is to weaken their support network. Harmful people do this not through open demands, but through subtle erosion, offhand remarks about your friends, quiet suggestions that certain family members don't have your best interests at heart, or constant positioning of themselves as the only person who truly understands you. The aim is not to convince you all at once, but to plant seeds of doubt until your circle thins out naturally. This tactic is dangerous because isolation doesn't feel like isolation at first. It feels like closeness. You start spending more time with them, not because they forbid you from seeing others, but because they've made you question whether anyone else is truly worth your trust. And the fewer perspectives you hear, the more their voice becomes the dominant one in your life. The Stoics warned about the company we keep. Epictetus advised, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." If someone's presence leads to the quiet disappearance of your other meaningful relationships, you are not being uplifted, you're being contained. Marcus Aurelius put it plainly. The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. When all your thoughts are filtered through one person's influence, your independence begins to dissolve. The solution is to actively guard the diversity of your connections. A healthy relationship does not require you to shrink your circle. It strengthens your ability to interact widely and confidently. Real love and respect do not fear outside influence. They welcome it. If your world is getting smaller, if you're speaking to fewer people, and if you find yourself relying on one person for all emotional interpretation, that is not closeness, it's captivity. And those who isolate you often use the next step to cement that control, eroding your confidence in ways so subtle you might not even notice until it's almost gone. That's the sign we'll uncover next. 7. They smile at your struggle. One of the darker signs of a truly harmful person is their reaction when life knocks you down. They may not burst into obvious laughter, that would be too revealing, but you'll notice the subtle cues. A smirk they fail to hide when you make a mistake. A measured pause before responding to your bad news, as if savoring it. A joking remark about your misfortune that somehow cuts deeper than any honest criticism. These are not slips of the tongue or harmless quirks. They are moments of unguarded truth, when the mask of empathy slips and you glimpse the satisfaction they take in your hardship. I once watched a man share news about losing a major client in his business. Instead of offering genuine support, his supposed friend leaned back, smiled faintly and said, "Well, maybe this will finally teach you not to be so confident." That single sentence revealed everything. It wasn't advice, it was a celebration disguised as concern. And while the sting of betrayal fades with time, the realization that someone enjoyed your pain leaves a far deeper scar. From a psychological standpoint, this behavior often comes from envy or insecurity. Your successes threaten them, so your struggles become moments of relief, proof that you're not so perfect after all. By finding joy in your setbacks, they regain a fleeting sense of superiority. Marcus Aurelius offered a solution rooted in dignity. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. The Stoic response is not to try to change the harmful person. You cannot remove malice from another's heart, but to stand so firmly in your own composure that their private enjoyment of your pain becomes meaningless. You deny them the reaction they seek. Recognizing this pattern is crucial because those who smile at your struggle rarely stop there. The next step is often more invasive, undermining your goals and progress under the guise of helping you. And that's the next warning sign you need to be ready for. 8. They keep score. One of the most corrosive traits in a harmful person is their inability to give without expecting something in return. On the surface, they may seem generous, offering help, doing favors, or providing resources when you need them. But these gestures are never truly free. Each one comes with an invisible tally mark, part of a mental ledger you can't see but will eventually feel. At some point, often when it benefits them most, they will cash in on these so-called gifts, framing them as debts you owe. This is not generosity, it's transaction disguised as kindness. True giving, as the Stoics understood, ends the moment the gift leaves your hands. Epictetus would say that a gift ceases to be a gift if it is given for the sake of return. When a person's acts of kindness are driven by the expectation of repayment, whether through loyalty, obedience, or silence, they're not enriching your life. They're buying leverage over you. The psychological impact of this kind of giving is subtle but profound. You begin to feel an unspoken obligation to accommodate them, even in situations where you otherwise wouldn't. They don't have to demand compliance outright. The weight of their past kindness does the work for them. Over time, this debt-based dynamic reshapes your choices, making you less likely to assert yourself or set boundaries for fear of appearing ungrateful. The Stoic solution is to redefine what you accept and from whom. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to receive without pride, let go without attachment. If accepting help means inheriting chains, it's not help, it's bait. Protecting your independence sometimes means declining what's offered, not out of pride, but out of the clarity that nothing given with strings is truly for your benefit. And often, those who keep score will escalate their control further by twisting your own emotions into tools against you, a tactic we'll expose in the next sign. 9. They're comfortable in the grey. One of the most dangerous qualities in a harmful person is their comfort in moral ambiguity. For them, right and wrong are not guiding principles, but flexible tools, bendable, adjustable, and always open to reinterpretation if it means securing an advantage. They treat ethics as negotiable, applying them only when convenient and discarding them the moment they become an obstacle. This is not adaptability, it's opportunism in its purest form. From a psychological standpoint, this is what researchers call moral disengagement, the mental process that allows someone to justify harmful actions without feeling guilt. They reframe their behavior, shift blame, or claim that context changes the rules. Over time, this creates a world where nothing is truly wrong if it serves their goals. And if you stay close to someone like this, your own moral boundaries will be tested, not with obvious demands, but with subtle compromises that erode your integrity piece by piece. The Stoics warned about such corruption. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." The harmful person operates by the inverse of this rule. If it benefits them, they will do it. And if it serves their agenda, they will say it, regardless of the truth. Epictetus taught that a person's true strength is measured by what they refuse to trade away, even under pressure. The one who thrives in the grey has already sold their principles cheaply, and they will sell yours too if it serves their advantage. To protect yourself, you must stand firmly on your own moral ground, even when it's costly. Refuse to rationalize behavior that contradicts your core values, no matter how persuasive the argument or how minor the compromise appears. Once you start bending your principles for someone else's comfort, you will soon find yourself standing on ground that is no longer your own. And often, those who live comfortably in this moral twilight have one more defining trait. They can walk away from the damage they cause without a flicker of remorse. That final sign is where we turn next. 10. They drain without touching. Some harmful people never raise their voice, never insult you directly, and never create obvious conflict. Instead, their impact is measured in how you feel after being around them. You notice the weight, not in your body, but in your mind. Your thoughts feel muddier, your focus slips, and a subtle heaviness lingers long after they've left. It's not dramatic enough to point to a single moment, but the cumulative effect is unmistakable. They corrode your peace without ever touching you. I remember speaking with a man who said he couldn't understand why he always felt so depleted after visiting a certain friend. There were no arguments, no overt tension, just an undercurrent of comparison, small interruptions, and quiet shifts in tone that left him doubting himself by the end of each conversation. That's the hidden signature of a harmful person. They change the climate of your inner world without leaving any obvious evidence behind. Psychologically, this is emotional depletion, a draining of mental resources through subtle cues, body language, tone, or an energy of constant judgment. It's why you can feel exhausted after certain interactions even when nothing happened. And the danger is that you may blame yourself for feeling that way, convincing yourself it's just your own mood or overthinking. Marcus Aurelius understood the importance of protecting this inner climate when he wrote, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." If someone's presence consistently muddies those thoughts, they are not safe to keep near, regardless of how polite, charming, or well-meaning they appear. The Stoic solution is to guard your mental space with the same vigilance you would guard your home. Not every guest is worth inviting inside. If you consistently feel worse after someone leaves, that's all the proof you need. You don't need a confrontation, an explanation, or their approval to step back. You only need to choose peace over erosion. And understanding all 10 of these quiet signs isn't just about spotting harm. It's about reclaiming the clarity and strength that harmful people try to steal. That's exactly what we'll seal this lesson with in the conclusion. The greatest danger isn't just being hurt, it's being slowly conditioned to see that hurt as normal. That's how harmful people win. Not through one big blow, but through steady, quiet erosion until you can't even remember what peace feels like. A Stoic knows the first duty is to guard the mind. You don't wait for undeniable proof. You don't gamble on the hope they'll change. You see the signs, and you step back before their chaos becomes your climate. Because every day you stay close to someone like this, you're teaching yourself to survive in a smaller, darker world. If this opened your eyes, hit like, without the sugarcoating, and drop a quick 1 in the comments if you're choosing to protect your peace starting today. Harmful people will always exist, but you alone decide how close they get to your soul. And that decision, once made with clarity, changes everything. Have you ever woken up and felt like life was stuck on repeat? The alarm goes off, you scroll through your phone, rush to get ready, then dive headfirst into the grind. Deadlines, expectations, pressure. Each morning feels like a faded copy of the one before, but it doesn't have to stay that way. There's a philosophy that helps emperors, warriors, and everyday people stay strong through life's storms. Stoicism. Not empty feel-good quotes, but solid, practical principles that train you to master your emotions, take control of your thoughts, and move with clarity through the chaos. In this video, you'll be guided through 12 meditations, not just to listen to, but to wake you up. Each one is a gentle slap to the mind, a pull out of the fog, and a reminder that you can live differently. By the end, you won't start your mornings on autopilot anymore. You'll start them with reason, with inner strength, and with a clarity you may have never felt before. Don't look away. Number 1. Remember you could die today. You open your eyes in the morning. Your phone buzzes, a work email, a few social media notifications, an unpaid bill. You jump out of bed and dive into the day, barely noticing one simple truth: you're still alive. It sounds ordinary, but it's the most extraordinary thing you keep brushing past without a second thought. Remember, you could die today isn't a grim warning. It's a different lens to look at life through. Like capturing a photo at sunset, the light only lasts a few minutes. So you pay attention, you savor it. Life is the same, yet we live like there's always next time. Picture sitting next to someone you love. Your dad, your mom, an old friend. You're scrolling your phone, half listening, tossing out distracted replies. They ask something, you give a quick answer. But if you knew this was the last time you'd ever sit with them, would you act the same? Every glance, every word would turn into a memory, not because it was special, but because you chose to make it matter. There's something strange. When we come face to face with death, we live more clearly. A friend of mine survived a motorcycle crash. Lying on the pavement, he didn't think about work, money, or big plans. He just regretted snapping at his wife that morning over the wrong kind of coffee. Since then, he never leaves the house without kissing her goodbye. Not out of fear, but because he finally sees what truly matters. Seneca once said, "Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life." This isn't about being morbid, it's about being intentional, complaining less about the rain, texting someone you love even if it feels awkward, not putting off a dream just because you assume there's time. Take 30 seconds each morning and ask yourself, if today was the last, who would I want to see? What would I want to say? What's one thing I never want to repeat again? Write down one thing, just one, then go do it. Not to become someone great, just so you won't regret it when life knocks on the door one final time. And something shifts when you live like death is quietly watching. You begin to appreciate everything, even the parts you once wanted to throw away. But the real question is, will you realize what you have before it's gone? Number 2, appreciate what you already have. Every morning, you wake up, check your phone, and see someone just got back from Europe. Someone else just bought a new car. Someone got promoted. And just like that, your day starts with a sense of lack. If it's not lack of sleep, then it's lack of luck. If it's not money you're missing, it's the life you think you should be living. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, today, you opened your eyes, you can still see. There's someone you can text. You still have 2 hands to hold that phone. Isn't that already more than enough? Gratitude isn't some abstract concept. It's a survival skill in a world that keeps telling you you're not enough. People think gratitude means sitting in meditation, picturing warm light, and feeling peaceful. No, gratitude is remembering how miserable you were that night you had a fever and no one around. Gratitude is realizing that as you're eating, the power's still on, the internet isn't lagging, and your stomach isn't aching. You take a bite and quietly think, yeah, life's not so bad. There's a line Marcus Aurelius once wrote in his private journal, a line most people overlook, but it's enough to make you pause. Do not set your mind on things you don't possess, as if they were yours, but count the blessings you actually possess, and think how much you would desire them if they weren't already yours. If you lost everything today, would you still take what you have right now for granted? I once met a man named Daniel, a mechanic living in the suburbs. He led a life many city folks would call ordinary. One afternoon, while changing a tire for a customer, he said something I'll never forget. I used to dream of being a boss. Then I had an accident, broke my leg, and was stuck in bed for 3 months. Now, just being able to get up and go to work. All I want is to drive myself to the shop, sip my morning coffee, and cuss at the air compressor when it breaks. Life's actually pretty decent, as long as you don't forget what you once lost. Want to start practicing gratitude? It's simple. Before you go to bed, look around your room and pick one thing you'd really miss if it were gone tomorrow. The air conditioner, your mattress, the soft glow of a lamp. Then ask yourself, did I live today as if I was grateful for that? You don't need to write in a journal. Just slow down for a few seconds. And if tomorrow morning you woke up and everything you have now was gone, what would you miss most? Drop a comment, something you used to take for granted but now see as a blessing. And if you ever need a daily reminder that your life is anything but ordinary, hit subscribe, because you're not lacking, you just forgot. Number 3, simplicity is freedom. Have you noticed? We often buy something new not because we need it, but because we feel empty. A vague kind of emptiness, as if without filling it with stuff, we'd be left to face ourselves. But the more we pile on, the more we feel lacking. The more we cram into our lives, the harder it becomes to see what actually matters. Simplicity, according to the Stoics, isn't about lacking, it's about choosing. Choosing to let go of what's unnecessary, so we can hold on to what truly counts. Imagine your mind as a desk. Every day, you pile on news, deadlines, comparisons with others, endless social media scrolling. By the end of the day, there's no space left to think clearly. Simplicity isn't an aesthetic trend, it's a survival tactic. A clear desk is easier to work at. A tidy mind is easier to live with. Sometimes, decluttering is as simple as not replying to a message right away. Canceling plans you never wanted in the first place. Saying no to extra work just because someone expects you to say yes. A person who lives simply isn't deprived. They're just clear on what brings them peace. They don't chase after everything because they understand. The more options you have, the less freedom you feel. Seneca once wrote, "He is a great man who uses earthenware dishes as if they were silver." A great person uses simple things as if they were precious, not because they don't understand value, but because they don't let material worth define their own. Think back to the last time you felt overwhelmed. Was it because you were trying to hold too many things at once? Work, unread messages, unfinished plans. What would happen if you removed just one must? What if you kept only 3 priorities each day? Here's a truth we rarely say out loud. The people who seem to have it all are sometimes the most bound. And those who own little, but are intentional with every choice, they're the ones who are truly free. That's why learning to let go matters. Because if you don't, you'll stay scattered, stuck in what you think are choices, but are really just reactions. And in the end, can you really say you're choosing anything if you haven't even figured out what's within your control? Number 4, control what you can. You can't stop the rain just to stay dry, but you can bring a jacket. It sounds simple, but that's the heart of Stoic philosophy, knowing clearly what's within your control and what isn't. And once you do, something unexpected happens. The world stops knocking you off balance the way it used to. One morning, I was waiting in line at a cafe. The guy in front of me got frustrated because the card machine glitched. He snapped at the staff, shot angry looks at everyone behind him, then stormed out. But think about it. The machine didn't work. That wasn't his choice. But the anger, that was. And every day, we make those same choices, to be angry, upset, or consumed by things that were never ours to control. Like when you go online and see someone criticizing you, you can't control what they say, but you can control whether you let it ruin your day. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." And he was right. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's not being ruled by what you don't. To really understand this, hear Jack's story. He's a single dad working as a delivery driver. One evening, just as his shift ended, a customer cancelled an order last minute. He lost $200 in seconds. Furious, Jack was ready to call back and argue. But right then, his daughter ran up and hugged him. "Daddy, you're home. I've been waiting for you." Jack looked at her, hung up the phone, and simply said, "I'm starving. Let's eat." It's not that he wasn't angry. It's that he chose what was truly worth responding to. That moment changed his whole evening and shaped a memory his daughter will always carry. If you want to build this mindset, try one small habit. Whenever you feel frustrated or out of control, ask yourself, is there anything I can actually change about this? If the answer is no, then the best thing you can do is let it go. Not give up. Let go, like setting down a heavy stone you've been carrying. Be like Jack. Choose your response like someone in charge. And if this message hits home, don't wait for someone to tell you to like the video. Do it because you choose to. Because that's something you can control. Number 5. Don't waste time on others' opinions. Monday morning, you're wearing your favorite shirt, stepping into the elevator feeling pretty good. Then a co-worker looks you up and down and casually drops, "That shirt looks kinda weird." Just one comment. But it clings to your mind the entire morning. You start tugging at your sleeves, checking the mirror, wondering, is this too much? What do people think? That's how you hand over the reins of your emotions to someone else. And the irony, they probably forgot about it 5 minutes later. Marcus Aurelius once said, "We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. We love ourselves by instinct, yet live by others' opinions by choice." Strange, isn't it? But here's the thing, it's deeply human. Back in primitive times, being cast out from the group meant death. So even though we no longer live in caves, we still fear being judged. But you're not in the Stone Age anymore. No one's exiling you from the village for wearing plaid pants. Here's a picture to keep in mind. People's opinions are like the weather. Some days it's sunny, some days it rains, some days it storms. You can't change the weather, but you can choose to bring an umbrella, wear a raincoat, or stay inside. Your reaction is in your control. The weather isn't. More practically, the next time someone says something that stings, try 3 things. Pause for 5 seconds. Don't react right away. Ask yourself, is this someone living a life I admire? If not, then you know what to do. Let it go, and keep moving in line with your own values. A friend once told me he always wanted to start a YouTube channel teaching guitar, but for 2 whole years he didn't post a single video, afraid people would say he sucked. One day he just snapped and said, "I'm 30 years old and still scared of a few random comments." I wasted 2 years worrying about people whose names I don't even know. His first video wasn't great, but now his channel has nearly 100,000 followers. He didn't suddenly become amazing, he just stopped caring about being laughed at. The Bible puts it this way, "For am I now seeking the approval of man or of God? Or am I trying to please man?" You don't have to be religious to get the message. What truly matters isn't how others see you. It's the direction you're walking in. So, if not every opinion deserves your attention, does everyone deserve a reaction? Some attacks only land because we raise our shield. But what happens when we stop raising it altogether? The answer might just surprise you. Number 6. Not everything needs a reaction. You're scrolling through social media and spotting an annoying comment under your post. Your fingers itch to clap back with something sharp, something that puts them in their place. But in that very moment, if you choose to pause, you're practicing one of the greatest mental strengths in Stoicism. Not everything needs a reaction. The truth is, many things that happen throughout your day don't actually require a response, but we often feel like we have to give one. Someone cuts you off mid-sentence, leaves you on scene, swerves recklessly in traffic. You feel disrespected, and your first instinct is to strike back. But what happens if you don't? Epictetus once said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." When someone gets under your skin, it's not because they're powerful. It's because you left the door to your mind wide open. Instead of reacting on impulse, picture this. You're a remote control. Each button is an emotion: anger, frustration, insecurity. People can try pressing those buttons, but only you decide whether to switch on. You have the power not to react, and that doesn't make you weak. It proves you're in control. Neuroscience backs this up. Intense emotional reactions fire up the amygdala, the brain's alarm center. But if you pause, even for a few seconds, your prefrontal cortex has time to step in and respond with reason instead of reflex. One deep breath can flip the entire script. So next time someone ticks you off, count down from 5 to 1, not to calm down, but to create space. In that space, you can choose how to respond or choose freedom. Because real freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's not letting anyone else control what's inside you. React less. Be more present. Live by your values, not by someone else's game. We're halfway through the video now. If you're still here, you've already crossed a major milestone in self-awareness. A path not everyone has the patience to take. Keep watching to the end. Each part builds on the last, helping you train your mind to grow clearer and steadier every day. If this spoke to you, don't hesitate to share it with someone you care about. Together, we're not just watching a video. We're building our minds. We're growing together. Number 7, live in the present. Have you ever been eating breakfast, but your mind was already racing ahead to that midday meeting, the afternoon deadline, then laundry at night, a call to your mum, and in the end, you can't even remember what you ate? We live as if life is just a draft version, always coming soon, after this is done, when there's time. But this isn't a draft. This is it, real life, happening now, second by second. Stoicism doesn't say, don't plan. It says, don't lose the present to things that haven't happened. The past is like a baked cake. You can't change the ingredients. The future is like a scratch-off lottery ticket. You can obsess over it, but that won't change a thing. The only thing you actually hold in your hands is now. What will you do with it? Once, I saw a middle-aged man waiting at a red light. But instead of staring at his phone like everyone else, he closed his eyes, breathed deeply, hands relaxed. Just 30 seconds. But he stood there like a calm rock in a rushing crowd. A simple image, but it stayed with me. How many times have you stood at a red light while your mind spun like a caged monkey? Marcus Aurelius wrote a line sharp as a blade. A limit of time is fixed for you, which if you do not use for clearing away the clouds from your mind, it will go and you will go, and it will never return. You don't lack time. You're just spending it worrying about things beyond your control. If you tend to overthink the future, try this. Each morning, before you leave the house, look at something around you, a mop, a power outlet, a spoon, and ask, it's fully present, am I? Or set a reminder every 3 hours, just to take 3 breaths and tell yourself, I'm here. It takes no time, but over time, you start reclaiming your life. And if you still feel uncomfortable in those empty moments, when there's nothing to do, no goal to chase, maybe you've forgotten. The real challenge isn't doing more. It's stopping and not feeling empty. Because the moment you dare to fully live in the present, that's when you start to train your mind. But are you ready to turn every stumble not into something to avoid, but into the steel that sharpens you? Number 8, treat challenges as mental training. Have you noticed that life seems to mess with you the most when you're in a hurry? You're rushing to work, your motorbike breaks down, Racing to send a report, the internet crashes. Trying to quickly reply to a message, you type the wrong thing, send it to the wrong person. The more you want things to flow smoothly, the more the universe seems to throw wrenches your way. But what if, instead of seeing yourself as a victim, you saw yourself as a competitor in the arena? Stoicism doesn't teach us to avoid discomfort. It teaches us that discomfort is the training ground for resilience. A glove that's only ever known for warmth will never survive the snow. A mind used only to peace will panic when the storm hits. Want to be truly strong? Let yourself be interrupted, misunderstood, disappointed, and still stay grounded. Take a very real-life example. You're doing the dishes after a long, exhausting day. Someone in your household casually says, "Wash them properly this time. There was still grease yesterday." What's your first reaction? Annoyance, right? But what if you saw it as a test of patience? You've just been handed a chance to level up, not because you're weak and must endure, but because you're strong enough not to react. Epictetus once wrote, "The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it." You don't hear that quote shouted from rooftops. It's too quiet, too profound for that. It doesn't need fanfare, because anyone who's truly overcome hardship knows real glory lies in the silent grit of rising, unseen. There's a man named Kevin, a night shift taxi driver in a big city. Each night, he picks up all kinds of passengers, drunk, rude, some who don't even pay. But Kevin never raises his voice. He has this strange little habit. Whenever he's irritated, he silently asks himself, "What is this moment training me for?" One time, a passenger threw up all over his back seat. Kevin took a deep breath, drove to the wash station, said nothing. That night, he told himself, "I just passed a test with no invigilator." Since then, every ride for Kevin has been a hands-on lesson in composure. What about you? What kind of test are you in the middle of today? Are you reacting the same old way, or are you watching yourself from a higher perspective? If you start seeing difficulties as mental push-ups, you'll realize every day carries meaning. And if everyday frictions are your gym, then pain, that's your final exam. The only question is, will you face it and come out stronger than ever before? Number 9, pain is temporary, growth is forever. There's something almost everyone hates, but no one escapes: the feeling of losing. Not the big, dramatic losses, but the quiet, everyday defeats. Getting turned down for a job you wanted, sending a message that goes unanswered, doing the right thing and getting no recognition. Those moments hurt, but pain itself isn't the problem. The problem is, we think it'll last forever. Remember the last time someone hurt you? That tight knot in your chest, your mind replaying the moment on loop like a broken tape. And yet, strangely, a few days later, maybe a few weeks, it fades. That's the truth about pain. It shows up uninvited, but it will leave if you don't hold on to it. So, what are you still clinging to that you should have let go of yesterday? Epictetus once said, "Difficulties are things that show a person who they are." Hardship doesn't turn you into someone else. It strips away the surface and reveals who you've been all along. Every stumble is a chance to meet your raw, unfinished self and choose to shape it. Here's a simple habit to try. The next time something hurts, don't react right away. Breathe, then write down 3 things. I feel. It comes from I choose to respond with. Write it by hand, not on a screen. The feel of pen on paper slows your mind, and in that slowness, things become clearer. A man named Alex once shared how he lost a lot of money because he trusted the wrong friend. He was angry, ashamed, devastated. But instead of running from it, he spent a week writing down every financial decision he'd made, every mistake, every blind spot. He turned betrayal into a mirror. 6 months later, he started a small new venture, this time more careful, more grounded. No one could tell from his voice what he'd been through, but it was there, like a new foundation poured deeper after the collapse. The question is, will you let your pain be a period or a dash? If you're going through something right now, don't rush it away. Face it, learn from it, then walk through it. Not fast, but steady. And if you're ready to live that way, ready to turn pain into inner strength, drop a comment, stronger through pain. Let that be the turning point. Number 10, discipline brings freedom. In the morning, you hit the alarm, snooze, sleep a little more, then jump out of bed, rush to brush your teeth, skip breakfast, mind foggy, fingers swiping through TikTok out of habit. The question is, who's really in charge of your life, you, or a string of unconscious reflexes? It might sound strange, but discipline, often seen as dull or rigid, is actually the foundation of true freedom. We tend to think freedom means doing whatever we want. But if doing whatever we want leads to 3-hour Netflix binges, mindless snacking, and endless procrastination, that's not freedom. That's being trapped inside yourself. Discipline means training your mind not to give in to every short-term urge. Say you commit to reading every day. You're tired today. You still open the book and read 2 pages. Just 2, but it sends a clear message to your brain. I follow through. You wake up 15 minutes earlier just to sit still and jot down a few thoughts for the day. A simple act, but one that grounds your mind before the chaos hits. Nietzsche wasn't a Stoic, but he once said, "He who cannot obey himself will be commanded. If you can't lead yourself, someone else will. Your boss, the market, the weather, your mood. They'll pull you in every direction." I had a friend with a high-paying job who always felt stuck. Not because the work was too hard, but because his life was on autopilot, sleeping in randomly, eating whenever, spending money to cope with stress. He didn't lack money, he lacked self-control. When he started jogging every morning, just 10 minutes, everything shifted. From that one habit, he learned how to set goals, push through discomfort, and rebuild his daily structure. The scary part isn't failing. It's not knowing why you're standing still. So what's your challenge? Set one small boundary, 1 cup of coffee a day, or no phone for the first hour after you wake up. You'll see, as discipline grows, so does your inner voice. The Bible once said, "The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." So who will you side with today? And then one day, you'll realize the quiet power of action speaks louder than 1,000 words. But the real question is, Are you steady enough to live as a reminder to others, instead of just sounding wise? Number 11. Be an example, not just a talker. In the morning, before you open your mouth to tell someone, just be more positive. Pause for a second and ask yourself, am I living that way? A lot of people talk like they're TED speakers in their own kitchen. They sound wiser than Marcus Aurelius, but live like someone constantly annoyed at the world. You tell your kids not to be glued to their phones, then scroll TikTok for 3 hours every night. You tell your friends to be true to themselves, yet every morning you pick out a mask to wear at work. What convinces people isn't what you say, it's how you live. Once, I saw something small but unforgettable at a coffee shop. A man in his 50s was standing in line when a schoolgirl behind him dropped her wallet. Without hesitation, without looking around, he bent down, picked it up, and handed it back like it was nothing. No, please follow me. No, share this feel-good story. It was such a quiet act that no one even noticed, except me. And I thought, that's the kind of person I want to be. Stoicism doesn't push you to become a speaker. It teaches you to be living proof. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." So, how do you lead by example? Don't overthink it. It starts with washing the dishes without being asked. Texting first to apologize, even if you're sure you were more right. Showing up on time because you respect other people's time. Cleaning up your table at the food court, even if it's not your job. These little things, done day in and day out, become your signature. They show that you walk the talk. Now take a moment. Ask yourself, is someone watching how you live? Your child, a colleague, your partner. What are you teaching them without realizing it? Just by how you carry yourself each day. If that hits home, consider following this channel, not for more advice, but so that every morning you'll get a reminder you can be a living example of what you believe in, starting today. Number 12, don't wait for perfection. Have you ever noticed the thing you keep putting off is often the very thing you want most to do? Writing a journal entry, working out, learning a new skill, launching your own thing. But because you're not good enough, don't have time, or it's not perfect yet, you delay, then delay again, and eventually you drop it altogether. Funny, isn't it? Someone can spend 20 minutes choosing the right filter for an Instagram photo, but won't spare 5 minutes to jot down a startup idea. Because writing feels vulnerable. Posting feels curated. Perfection isn't the goal, it's the excuse. A clever trap set by the ego. It convinces you that not good enough means don't even try. But the truth is, every skill, every breakthrough, start messy, start small, repetitive, often boring. Great guitarists didn't learn by watching others' fingers. They learned by hearing themselves hit the wrong notes 100 times. Seneca once said, "While we wait for life, life passes." We tell ourselves there's still time, but time doesn't wait, especially not for those stalling until everything's perfect. A friend of mine, Thomas, once said he wanted to teach online. He spent 6 months picking a microphone, then he got caught up in lighting. When I asked, "So, have you filmed anything yet?" he said, "I'm waiting for my new background to arrive." That waiting wasn't about equipment. It was fear dressed up as preparation. But one day, his phone ran out of space. So he shot a quick 3-minute video using the front camera, no edits. That clip? His most shared video ever. So instead of waiting for perfection, build a starter habit. Just do 2 minutes. Type 2 lines. Read 1 paragraph. Run for 5 minutes. Once you start, motivation follows. Or use the 80% rule. If you're 80% ready, begin. The rest, you'll learn along the way. This isn't theory. It's how thousands of creators, entrepreneurs, and athletes actually live. Now think about that thing you've been wanting to do but haven't started. Write it down. Do it badly. Because messy is still real. Messy is still a beginning. Perfect, it never shows up because it's not a destination. It's the trap that keeps you stuck at the starting line. Perfection is the enemy of action. But action, even the smallest step, is how real change begins. We've just explored 12 Stoic meditations to start each morning with calm, clarity, and purpose. From the reminder that death can come at any moment to the quiet power of small, consistent progress. Each lesson is a solid stone on which to build inner strength and intentional living. At their core, they reinforce a timeless truth. Stoicism never stops repeating, you can't control the world, but you can always control how you face it. Live simply. Be grateful. Stay steady. Don't chase perfection. Commit to progress. Don't let others run your mind. Choose how you respond. Every morning is a chance to reset, to train your mind, and to live like someone you truly respect. If you found this video helpful but haven't hit like yet, give it a tap. It really helps spread this message to more people. And feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Every insight is part of the journey we're on together. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. There's much more grounded, powerful, and inspiring Stoic content coming your way. A new morning can start with a single right thought, and your life, it can start again today.